Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. And welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Kevin McDonald, and we're talking today about a topic that I think is really, really undercovered, under talked about, because most of the people that do this are very young people, and they've never really been schooled. Personally, I think that maybe we need, like you get a driver's license, maybe we need a license in order to be able to have children. Because it's a very big responsibility. And a lot of the people who don't really know how to take care of the kids properly, how to empower them to lead the lives that they came here to live. And with that, my good friend Rochelle is joining me. Rochelle, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Kevin. I'm so excited for this episode. I could not imagine the learning that I get to go through and for all of our viewers out there to change their perspective on parenting.
Yes, because you're not a parent yet, because you're just a child. But it's relatively soon you're going to be a parent, and so we're going to be talking to the hero teacher. She is from Raising Empowered Kids. It's an organization that works with children, and you get to say her name.
Welcome, everybody. And we have Tammy Vallieres as our guest today, and we are so excited and empowered. Please stay tuned to listen to everything she has to teach us because it's going to be a good show. And welcome,
She
Tammy. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. It's really exciting to be here. I got to meet Kevin a while back with John, and that was such a fun conversation. And now I get to meet you, so I'm super excited to be here.
well,
Do I have something funny on my face here?
you what
Just
you didn't
slightly
get in a
look like
fight
maybe
before
you
you
got
came
beat
on, did
up.
you?
Yeah.
I'm noticing there's something on this. Oh, there we go. Oh, there we
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
There we go. That's magic.
It's magic. Well done.
I'm glad I discovered that trick. That's super cool. I am the hero teacher, so I can just wave my wand or my hand and things disappear or appear.
That is so funny. That is so funny. So tell us about your organization and what it is that you do, because I don't know if anybody recognizes this. I think most people do, but children are a very, very important part. They're going to be the ones who grow up and are going to be actually even voting one day, and are going to be paramount to our society in the next coming generation. So tell us about your organization and what do you guys do?
Yeah, Kevin, I loved what you said about, parenting and raising children is such an important job. And there needs to be more dedication, more information, and more resources to support parents and teachers along that journey. They are our generation. They're the future. They are the future leaders. And we're going to be, giving them the planet to take care of. So we really do. And we've kind of put the planet in not the best place either. So these kids are going to really need our support, and they're going to need our mentorship and our coaching and our guidance and the skills and strategies to be able to handle some really big jobs. And they have to use their creative brain, their superpowers, their imagination to come up with solutions for the state of the planet and where we've left things for them. So to get kind of who we are as Raising Empowered Kids, we call ourselves REK. And if you go through it, we've designed a box, right? So if you think of drawing a little box, and at the top, you have a little bow, and that bow represents our vision and mission. So what's happened is myself, the visionary for Raising Empowered Kids, a teacher, has joined forces with Super Sylvia, who's a mom raising 3 kidpreneurs, and Adam and Matthew, who has come and joined on with us, and we've joined on with him and the business brothers. And so our focus is home, school, career, and building a scaffolding, taking children all the way through their entire, journey, their hero's journey, starting at home and school and career. Because a lot of times we're all disjointed and disconnected, and a life, right, is continuous. So it's like building those staircases for success.
I think that's awesome. First of all, I'd like to apologize to all the children out there because we have left you in a bit of a pickle. And it's a bit of a mess, and you guys are going to end up being responsible to help us and help yourselves and the succeeding generations out of it.
Yeah.
But it's great that I'm glad that you guys are doing this work. How did you guys get together to figure this out? Is it all happenstance, or was it kind of a divine plan?
I truly believe in the divine plan, and it was only a matter of divine timing before we all connected. But what I love about what we're doing with homeschool and career is that each one of us is a master in our craft, in our area. So I've got over 25 years of teaching behind me. Sylvia is a super mom, right? Raising 3 kidpreneurs who are already incredibly successful. And Adam and Matthew started their entrepreneurship when they were kids themselves. I'm going to do this because this thing keeps happening. If I get a big unibrow, you guys know, just tell me, go like this, Tammy, and for some reason it will disappear. But yeah, so what we wanted to do is, I really always believed in the work of scaffolding and one continuous journey and creating a common language where we could connect from home to school to daycare to career. And, it's like anything. It's like the language of English or French or any other language. If you don't understand the language, it's hard to communicate, it's hard to collaborate, and it's hard to connect with one another, right? So building the hero intelligence education with a common language and creating that scaffolding where we're each in our lane. So what we do, like the geese, right, who fly in the V formation, we each take our strengths. We each take leadership in what our strengths are. So because I'm a school teacher, I can speak to teachers because I'm in there day in and day out. Sylvia can speak to parenting. I'm not a parent yet. So as much as I have knowledge and wisdom and information, I don't want to speak on behalf of parents because that's not who I am. I work with children every day, and it's a totally different experience. And same with Adam and Matthew. They're both parents, but they went through the entrepreneurial journey right from 11, 8 years old. So, and they built that entrepreneurship. So again, as much as I'm kind of emerging into entrepreneurship, my biggest strength and confidence is in education and speaking around being a classroom teacher. So this is where we each get to share the lead, but we each get to, collaborate as well.
And so you started teaching when you were 10, is that right?
That's right. I'm just so young and youthful over here. Thank you very much. But no, yeah, I'm quite experienced, and that's the gift of getting up there. A lot of times we finish our career and then that knowledge, doesn't get to be relayed out there. So I really do want to take what I've learned at the end of my journey and start to go into the world of sharing what I've gained myself.
That's phenomenal. And I'm glad that you guys are doing this work. Where are you based out of?
I'm in Woodstock, Ontario, Canada. And what I love is Sylvia's in California. So we're sending some prayers out to them, right, with all the fires. And Adam and Matthew are in Arizona. So really awesome that we are also in 3 different locations, throwing out there 3 different perspectives. But yet we are coming together with a common vision and mission, united.
Oh, that's really cool, because there is a difference between raising a child in Canada versus raising a child in the United States, especially in Los Angeles or in California. It's way different, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's different rules, different values, different systems, right? Different ideologies. And again, but that's no different than, cultures within the US and cultures within Canada and cultures all around the world. I'm going to do this because That's the whole point, is that we're trying to, even in our classroom, we have children, 25 kids coming from all different families with all different kind of backgrounds and ethnicities, especially if you're in Canada. So again, we have to try to find that common language and start to work in collaboration and unity, and bring that peaceful education and that harmony in the classroom. So it's really important. And that's where each one of us comes into different skills. And another point I want to say is that education is about preparing children for life and preparing them for a career one day. But a lot of times that doesn't even come into the conversation until so far in the game that these kids don't know who they are, because they learn everything disjointed. So again, we owe it to kids to do things better. And when we know better, we can do better. So again, that's what our goal and our aim is in coming together.
So a lot of this is parent education, I would imagine.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And the biggest thing, I did this honestly 15 years ago, and I said the two biggest issues in education was mental health and bullying. And today still, right, we still don't bring emotional intelligence. A lot of my age, our generation, we weren't taught social and emotional intelligence skills. We weren't given tools and strategies. So again, we just survive the way we were taught or parented, and we just pass that down. And I like to compare it to the dog whisperer. If you disciplined animals, the way you did 50, 100 years ago, it was a big dictatorship, and it was beating and submission and fear-based. Well, that has changed. And we've seen things like, the dog whisperer and the horse whisperer, and how you see police academy animals and seeing eye dogs. They have the most incredible relationship, and it's not through force and aggression. So we need to evolve that way in education with children as well.
This is very much like the 7-generation cycle. Do you know what I mean by that?
Explain more. What do you mean by that?
We have a tendency to treat our children like we were treated when we were kids. And then they grow up and they treat their kids. Mom and dad did it this way, so it must be okay. And because
this is fun. I've never had that happen before, but that's funny.
And so you're breaking the 7-generation cycle, so that kids can be raised in a different manner. But it takes education, and parents, I feel so sorry for parents, because a lot of parents are like in their early 20s. They're barely out of diapers themselves. And yet they're putting diapers on kids and stuff. And they don't get how to do it. And also there's the other thing that I found in my life is that there's a difference between kid number 1, kid number 2, and kid number 3. By the time you get to, I was the youngest, and by the time you got to me, they were like, "Oh, whatever. You can just show up and have dinner and another night." But we as and you as educators, I imagine, you're looking for ways of helping parents realize that there is a challenge to it, but there's also a way to do it. Am I close?
Well, absolutely. And for me, as I have, when I started teaching, I'm a very different person than I am today. Because again, I was putting in those old paradigms, those old belief systems, those old discipline strategies in from how I was parented and raised in the schools. And today, after a lot of information, a lot of education, a lot of experience, I've become my best self, and I have a way to really bring peace, love, and harmony. And I have my area of expertise. I've got my degree in psychology. I've got my early childhood education diploma. I have worked and learned from working with other teachers, educators, all different types of children. I have just under 70 children a year. So in a day, that's how many kids I teach in a day. So imagine over the years how much experience and how much better I get at my job. And the other thing is I taught grade 5, 6 for 8 years. So for 8 years, I got, almost 30 kids for 8 years. And I got to become really good at that and understand that parents get 1 shot, 3 shots, 4 shots, at that year. And they again, they kind of do it and wing it, and they get maybe a little better, or they, like you said, they give up, right? They kind of become more loosey goosey around everything. So the thing is I'm constantly educated. I'm constantly upgrading my information and my knowledge base and my expansion. So I have an advantage, right, as I go through the system. Whereas parents, who is your social network? Who are you talking to? How are you handling it? Again, we know the power of influence. So if you've got, parents around you that don't parent well, right, that are aggressive, or, are just doing what their parents did, and there's no new tools. Again, think of a carpenter. You had a rock and a nail versus a carpenter today, or a farmer who has all these advanced skills. You're going to be so much further and advanced and better at your craft. So, I honor who they are. And even teachers have so much responsibility. They have to be everything: doctor, social worker, mathematician. And so even behavior management, they don't get those strategies that I have when I come in as my degree in psychology, in personal growth and development, in behavior management, in social and emotional intelligence. That's my craft. That's what I'm really, really good at. And that's what I relay. But if I was a math teacher, that's what I'd be really good at. Don't ask me math questions right now. Don't ask me a STEM, because that is not my strength. That's not what I'm teaching day in and day out.
Yeah, and we have something called the new math. And my kids, we had no idea how to do any of that, so we couldn't help them at all. So, by the way, we're talking with Tammy
Vieras, right?
Vallieres, yes, yes.
Vallieres.
Vallieres.
And she is from Raising Empowered Kids. And go to raisingempoweredkids.com and find out more about them, their values. I love your values of what you are working to teach the kids, because at the end of the day, values are what matters.
Right.
And having integrity, and being, and not bullying, and really thinking about what you're doing. We need to take a quick break. And Tammy, and we've got so much more to talk about the kids and stuff. And I want to bring Brichelle in on the next segment, because she's 25. So she's in that demographic of childbearing age people. And I would love her opinion about, gosh, like, how they doing? We'll be right back. Are you looking for a powerful way to grow your brand while making a real difference? Well, Positive Talk is the perfect platform to align your message with inspiration, hope, and meaningful conversations. By sponsoring Positive Talk, your brand will reach an engaged audience that values positivity and connection. People who want to support companies that share their values. Take this opportunity to showcase your business in a space that uplifts, inspires, and creates lasting impact. Don't wait. Email me, Kevin@kmmedia.pro today to learn how you can partner with us and spread positivity while growing your brand. And welcome. Welcome, everybody.
I think this is going to be my new move.
Tammy, just for those of you that are listening to this, Tammy's on camera, and for some reason, her facial features get kind of weird. So she's taking her hand and putting it in front of her face, and it clears up, and then it gets back, then it clears up. Anyway, so if you're listening to this, that's what we're laughing about. But so, Brichelle, you have lots of friends that are your age that are young parents. How are they doing?
Honestly, I'd have to say that I'm pretty damn proud of them, because it is so hard to try to integrate our way of how we were raised, and knowing we want that to be different, but also how to do it. And it depends on your child, and how they learn, how they process information, what level they're at, and where you are as well, because obviously as humans we continue to grow. But Tammy, a huge question I would have for you is, what is something that, like, what is your best advice you could give to somebody really at a young age who is wanting more of the understanding from a new age perspective on raising a child and knowing they want it to be different, but also trying to give themselves that grace and knowing that
Mhm.
they're doing as much as they know as possible.
Exactly. And I love that question because at the end of the day, we can, when we know better, we do better. So how do we get connected, right? What can we do to prepare? The biggest thing is our emotional intelligence, right? That's one of the biggest things because if you think about it, your energy, your response can change a dynamic, can change a room, can change everything in a minute, right? We can see people, right? If they don't have control of their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions, that changes everything. You could destroy a relationship, a really healthy, happy relationship. You can you lose a job because you can't control your emotions. So the biggest thing is giving teachers, giving parents, giving educators who are working with children the opportunity to understand and manage their own emotions. And when we do that, the way we show up is we can pause, we can ponder, and we can plan for a better response, right? The biggest thing is take a rest break, right? Because if we're going to react versus respond, you're going to have a totally different dynamics and a relationship. So that's the biggest thing. You know, I always say peace begins with me. So if you can create a calm home, a calm learning environment, a calm and safe work environment, you know, then you can start to build the trust. You can start to build the communication. You can start working together. You can create a harmonious work life and school environment. So that's the biggest thing. But if you have this inner chaos and inner turmoil within you, then that is how you're going to handle everything. So again, right, you either bring the calm or the chaos. And same with the teacher. So if I came into a classroom and I'm already like pumped up and high strung, and I meet a child who's in that state, what's going to happen? A tsunami, right? Because we're going to play off of each other's energy. But if I'm in a calm and peaceful place, and I meet a child who I don't know what he came through, what he's had or endured at home, and he's already or she's already really fired up, my calm energy, the way I speak to them and handle them is going to be able to calm the situation down. So if you think about if you were an emergency situation and you came into a crisis situation, you need to be calm and level-headed to be able to go through all the steps. If you're not, you're going to just magnify this everything. So a lot of it is teaching parents, teaching teachers and educators that peace begins with me, and I either bring my calm or my chaos everywhere I go.
Very
And
true.
by the way, Deborah says, love the discussion on raising confident and capable kids. Empowering the next generation is so important. Deborah, thank you for listening. That's really cool. I wanted to ask you, my former wife was a playground teacher at a school that was in the neighborhood of the King County Justice Center. And so there were lots and lots of kids that were in elementary kids that were in that school. And because one of the parents was incarcerated, that's got to be what advice, if any, I don't know, would you give parents and teachers in that situation? Because the kids are they may have just gotten there from someplace else, and their parent is going to be gone for a year or 5 years and stuff. There's a lot of anger that goes with that, isn't there?
So that's a great question. And I love that you've shared that because the thing that I do, I start in kindergarten at the ground level. It's like anything. The later in life we start, the harder it gets because we have the paradigms, we have the belief systems, and we have to undo all of that conditioning, right? So the biggest thing is I teach kindergarten. I'm blessed to teach kindergarten, and I do everything through animal tales and stories. So a lot of my characters, so I'm going to give you a little introduction of a book that we're launching called Harmony Hare and Her Three Shadows. So that's a little story where you, as you get to know this little character, she's got three voices in her head, right? So she's got three voices that are talking to her. She's got her little victim, her little villain and her hero. And it's all this noise. I'm going to do this again. It's all this noise, and she doesn't know how to find peace. You know, she's in her little tree house, and there's peace within her walls, but there's no peace within her mind. And so she doesn't know how to deal with those little voices. So she goes on a little adventure, and I'm not going to give you too much away, but if you think about it, I give children the tools, right? We're creating tools, stories, resources, animals that they can listen to and learn about in a different perspective, where they're not emotionally charged. They don't have an emotional reaction to it. They're just the listening, learning, and all this learning can happen separate from them. So they can look with a different perspective. They can see how Harmony handles this situation, and who does she listen to? Does she listen to her victim voice, who, you know, is scared and talks to herself and always puts herself down? Her villain voice, who's all about being better than everybody and is aggressive and is speaking from her ego? Or her hero, who's calm but confident and knows how to, you know, take her time in moving forward? But she doesn't do this alone either. She has mentors and guides with her. And that's the other thing too. We're not meant to do this alone. So by giving children tools and tips and strategies, and one of them, I'll just give you one that I use countlessly, is I say, you know, when Harmony here is in her victim or villain, she feels heavy like a rock, right? She feels really, really heavy. But when she is in her hero, she feels light like a feather. So again, it's not judging. It's not good or bad, right or wrong. We're not in judgment. We're in awareness. So is that thought, that feeling, that emotion, that action, does it feel heavy in our body? And where does it feel heavy in our body? Or does it feel light? So these are tools, these are languages, these are toolkits, these are resources. This is stories that we can relate to children. So then if we did have to talk about a situation at home, we can connect it to these animal characters that they are already built a relationship with and have an understanding from different points of perspective.
You know, a couple things. First of all, I want you to be my teacher when I'm
Aw, thank you.
and the other thing is, you know, what you're doing by talking about the light and the heaviness is you're talking about energy.
Yes.
And the lightness of the positive energy that you bring to that is so much better than the dark.
Right
heavy.
or wrong, good or bad, threatening, shaming, blaming.
Yeah. And I just want to say, but before we get too far into this, is that I imagine, because you've been teaching for a long time, I'm willing to bet that a week doesn't go by that you have a former student come up to you and say, "Oh, Miss Tammy V, you were so wonderful for me, and you made me so happy, and look at me today. I'm well adjusted and stuff because of the work that you did." Do you get? I'm sure you get it. Do you?
You're gonna make me cry. Don't do that, Kevin. You know, the thing is I truly love what I do. I feel the gift of their lightness. I feel the gift of their joy in my life. I am so blessed by them. They are altruistic. They're so loving. They're so forgiving. They are so beautiful. You think about circle of influence. I'm around the most beautiful souls on the planet, and children really are the light. And what I've been able to do is bring that out in them. And when my light is there shining for them, their light shines for each other. So we literally have created these classroom utopia worlds where there's so much peace, there's so much love, there's so much harmony. And that is my biggest desire in my heart. I want to be able to give parents, give teachers, give educators the tips, the tools, and the strategies, and the recipe on how to get there, because there is a recipe. We didn't get there by fluke. There's a lot of work, a lot of learning, and a lot of collaboration to get there. But now we've discovered that you can do it. And in 25 years, I've never had more beautiful classroom learning environments in my life. And now I've made it my mission and vision to work with, you know, Raising Empowered Kids and get this message and these tools and strategies out in homes and schools and in communities.
I'm struck by, and I think Rochelle can agree with this, that when you start at kindergarten, they're 5, and that's when your first real memories start to, and most of mine happen, I can remember a few things before 5, but not very many. And so there are lots of people that live in home situations that are not ideal.
Right.
And when you start them at 5, you can imprint them with positivity and stuff. Or, well, you tell me, can you make a meaningful impact? Well, doggone it, we got to take a real quick break. But when we come back, I want to ask you, can we, at 5 years old, can we make a meaningful impact on what happens to those kids and set them up for success regardless of their home
I
situations?
got a good answer to this. So you come back, everybody.
Don't go away, anybody. We will be back in like a minute.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Rochelle is here, and Tammy V, the hero teacher, is here. And she works with an organization called RaisingEmpoweredKids.com. Go there, get all the information. They've got a great value statement. They've got a newsletter. They've got 23,000 members of people that are interested in raising better kids. And I'm so sorry that it's necessary for me to play a public service announcement like Carriage House, because there are millions of kids that are not getting what they need. And those people are going to grow up, and a lot of them are going to end up incarcerated, unemployed, homeless, and we have to break the cycle. And so, Tammy, thank you so much for being here and helping us out.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And I agree. See this, see all that's happening. It's funny. It's comical, actually. And that's what, making light of things that normally would get us upset or frustrated. That's it. It's all about our attitude and how we approach things and how we, show children, right, by our reaction. They look to us. So the question that you were asking about was what, Kevin? Do you want to pose that question again for us?
When you are working with 5-year-old kids and the situation at home is less than ideal, there may be a drug addiction, there may be alcohol addiction, there may be parents that are less aware of what they're doing has an impact on the kids. And there are many people that will tell me that their abuse started right about that time, and it affected their entire life until they were able to bring it up and then deal with it. And can you help them form a barrier of strength even at that age, so that they can not deal with those things?
Yeah. So what I love about that question, it's so big. So number one, if we go take myself way back, I first started off in social work. So just even you talking about that, I was aware because I started teaching later in my life and my career. And so I was first in social work. And I also realized that these kids, By the time you get them at 19, 18, 25, it's very hard to give them a new and better way and strategy, right? If you could start earlier on in life, like the Olympics, you start early, they don't have these roadblocks and limitations. So also labels, right? So I was labeled. You're asking, can you create a big impact when they're young? Well, think about the big impact you can make on a child if you label them as a bully, if you label them with a learning disability, like I was labeled. That is trauma a lot of times for us when we take on those identities and then they stick with us for a lifetime. And then when we try to undo that, we got to go all the way back to when it first started. So that's what, therapists do and what we have to do in order to find our healing. I've got like some skin thing happening. It's really cool, but I guess I'm supposed to be extra unique. But the whole thing is that, again, if we can be traumatized at a young age and carry that with us, we can also impart a child with a belief system that they are amazing, they are unique, they are a genius. My issue is I didn't think I was smart because I was labeled as learning disabled. But if you look at what Einstein's quote is, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it believes its entire life that it's stupid. Well, that's what happened to me. When we teach animal school, we don't say, oh, you're stupid if you can't fly or if you can't swim. They all have their different geniuses. They all have their different strengths. And I had to go back as an adult and relearn and re-speak to myself and go back to my little inner child and say, you know what? When somebody called you learning disabled, it's because they didn't understand what your genius was. They were judging you in an unfair scale. And that's what we don't do anymore. And Genius U did a study that realized that children are born 98% geniuses. And as they go through the school system, they lose that. At age 5 and 6, 98 are geniuses. By age 10, they're down to 30% genius. By age 15, down to 12. And by age 30, 2% geniuses. So what do we do in homes, in schools, and society that causes us to strip away our intelligences, our confidence, our beliefs, all those things that we are naturally born with? And this is what scares me. We need a generation of kids that are going to have to be very smart, intellectual, to be able to handle the social, emotional, environmental issues of tomorrow, because they're going to need their genius. We don't need the 2% geniuses anymore at 30. We're going to need these adults, these children maintaining their 98% genius. So this is where we need to start, and this is how we do it. And everybody could probably say how somebody has been impacted negatively, right? And it's stuck with them a lifetime. Well, if you can impact somebody negatively, you can definitely impact them positively as well.
Well, I was interviewing a gentleman, and you can go back. His name escapes me at the moment. It's not important, but he was also an educator, and he said that he went to a school, and his team gave the kids of a certain class a test, and he said, you have the kids do this test, and then we'll collect the test, and then we're going to come back in 3 days, and we're going to tell you who are going to be the movers and shakers in that class.
Mm-hmm.
And so they did that, and he went away, and he came back, and he said, this child, and this child, they're at the genius level, and they are going to be the movers and shakers and the CEOs, and maybe one will be president, or hopefully. But anyway, you want to be president and that sort of thing. And they came back 6 months later, or I think it was a year later, and the principal that was involved with the testing, he goes, how did you guys pick that? How did you know that these kids were going to be the ones? And he said, we didn't. Because we labeled them as genius.
Exactly.
You treated them differently than you treated the other children.
Yeah. It's the self-fulfilling prophecy. It's the placebo effect. It's the chicken or the egg. If you think about it, right? So this is why I teach my kids the hero in me, sees the hero in you. I don't say the hero in me sees only the hero in you and you and you. I say the star in me sees the star in you. You're all stars. So here's where I'm going to go back to the beginning when I said you're going to draw a gift box and you're going to put the bow in there, because we all have gifts within. Every single one of us is born with gifts within. Our job as teachers, as parents, as coaches, as educators, as mentors is to help children reveal, discover, and then share those gifts with the world. So when you talk about animal school, it's easy to understand that every single animal has a superpower. Every single animal has a gift. But why is it so hard for us to understand that every child, a human being with a soul, has this innate gift inside? Our problem is we snuff that out. And the way we speak and label children like limits some children's gifts, some children's discoveries, and we talk about, we pit them up against one another. We don't compare the fish to the bird on how good they are at swimming. That's not even a fair examination. So the whole concept is, people get it when we talk about animal school, and we have a hard time understanding it in the regular way. So this is why I teach through animal school, our water world, our mountain world, and our meadow world, air, earth, water, fire, right? We bring these elements into the classroom, our energy, and all of these things, so children can understand it's not a fair examination and we wouldn't all teach all animals in the water, just as the same way we wouldn't teach them all on land and in the air. And when we can talk this way, then children don't associate themselves and compare and pit themselves up against one another. And that's how we create harmony in the classroom, because we don't feel inferior.
And I want to bring Heather into this discussion real quick. She said, "This is so great. This would have been so helpful when my daughter was young. She still turned out awesome, but things could have been way smoother." And Heather, thank you for saying that, because hindsight is always 20/20, and we can always look at our mistakes that we've made. But I can tell you from my personal experience, you did a fine job. The child you raised, and I don't even know her, is going to be great moving forward. So congratulations. And I got to tell you, Tammy, you are inspiring as the hell.
Thank you so much. Well, I picked a card. I always pick a card before I start. And we got the happiness card, right? So here's the thing. Happiness is contagious. So if we can become happy, we feel good about ourselves, that energy is contagious. It moves around. So the more everybody can feel good in their own head, their own heart, and their own emotions, and we're not in constant competition, and we're always comparing ourselves to everybody else, that's how bullying and victims happen. Because children will only bully because they don't feel good about themselves. Children who love themselves don't hurt themselves or others. So the big thing is create these environments, first as a parent teacher, learn to love yourself. So that is what you're spreading, right? That is what you're sharing, is that love.
Exactly. And that is what this show is all about. Treating everybody is great. We are born great. We are born here with a mission. We then through circumstances and our environment, we get told, "Nah, you're not so great.
Right.
You're not good at this. You can't do that." And rather than uplift people, we tend to tear them down. And it's so great to have someone like you that is telling us, "No, that's not right. Don't do it that way anymore.
Right.
That's the old way. We need to do it the new way."
And Einstein was a pretty smart guy, right? Wouldn't we all agree? And what did he say? Imagination is more important than knowledge. What happens in school is we keep programming children with all this knowledge, and we squash their imagination, their creativity, their uniqueness, and all of those things. This is why we need to upgrade. right? We need to reimagine education. And that's how myself, Sylvia, and Adam and Matthew have come together with the company joint venture Raising Empowered Kids, because we know that there is a better way to doing things, right? We know that, you know, we have to create and reimagine education. That child who loves to move, that child is a dancer possibly inside, right? That child who loves to draw, that child is artistic and creative and is going to be who we need to tap into when we have to design something. So what I'm always doing is I'm always trying to help them understand who they are, what they're great at, what their superpowers are, and then sharing them into the spotlight as little leaders. So I don't do aerobics because I'm not as flexible as my 4 and 5-year-old friends that can move, right? And do super yoga. So what happens is I give them the power to lead. So that's it. It's about shared leadership. And I always say, you know, we are all master students. We are all master teachers. You know, they teach us love, compassion, forgiveness. We might be able to teach them other things, but they have the power to play. They have the power to forgive. They have the ability to use their powerful imagination. Adults aren't very great at that, right? We hold on to grudges. So if we want to look at a master, look to a child, because they have skills and abilities that far surpass ours. And yes, we have the knowledge and skills and experience that surpass theirs, but don't dismiss them as geniuses and their brilliance and what they are good at, because we have so much to learn from them. A child is resilient. They will fall 100 times, 200 times and get back up. An adult, 1, 2, right? And that's it. So we need to learn from them.
And in some cases, we end up in the hospital when you're an adult. When you fall over. Happened to me. It'll happen to somebody else. But
well, what I love about kids is their faith and the belief. They believe in Santa Claus. They believe in anything we tell them. Us, it takes forever to believe in it again. So again, imagine if I believed I could heal my body, how fast I'd be able to activate that, like the placebo effect. So again, they have such extraordinary superpowers that if I could go back, reparent, re-educate myself, like Heather shared, oh my goodness, I would wonder and ponder who I could have become.
Well, and fortunately, some of us are young enough to where they can make those changes. And Rochelle is one of those that is working diligently. And I invite everybody who is younger to make these changes and to really believe in who you really are, because who you really are. There are 8 billion people on the planet, but nobody is like you.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And you're here for a special mission, and that's why it's important. And I'm sorry, I got on my soapbox. I need to take a real quick break again. But Tammy V, her last name, Rochelle, is
Vallieres. Is that right? Okay.
You got it. That's your superpower, Michelle.
and go to the website raisingempoweredkids.com, because this is not new age. This isn't something that is a fad. This is going to be how we need to raise our kids in the future, because I tell you, it's going to be tough out there for them. We'll be.
It doesn't have to be, though.
Doesn't have to be. We can make it a lot easier, but you got to start early, and you got to take care of them. And
it's never too late, Kevin, right, to start. So that's the other thing too. It's never too late.
So that is so true. When we come back, could you expand on that?
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, Rochelle, do you like the way that works? A song then, and then it goes back into the video, and it just worked out perfect. Some of
Yes,
us are
I
just so
love it.
damn talented. I'm telling you what. Uh,
Give us a little bit of wiggle and jiggle moving.
exactly. We are doing a high five and we're dancing silly dances and stuff. So, which Rochelle does in her room all the time, but that's a story for another time.
Our inner child's coming out, Kevin, right, Rochelle?
Yeah.
Our inner child is coming out to play with each other.
Yeah, the more I heal, the more she is right there at the surface, and I'm like, girl, I see you. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that inner voice. I love that inner voice that you're speaking to yourself, that champion.
And I'd have
As
to say, I'm more than thankful for having you on the show. For one, I want to shout out my mom, Heather, for speaking her mind on that. She did an amazing job. I am proud of who I've become, and she did more amazing than I think she realizes. And I was an only child, Tammy. So find a little different struggles depending on whether a child has 10 siblings or maybe none.
Absolutely.
And we've got so much to talk about, but boundaries were a huge thing that were hard for me to learn. And to teach a child their boundaries of themselves and to place with others
Mhm.
is crucial for your life. Um, but we learn and we live, and I love how you say it's never too late because still to this day, you never know who come into your presence and into your life as an adult, whether you're their significant parent or their secondary. There's so much of an impact you can truly have.
Yeah, absolutely. And influence mentors. Anybody can be a mentor. Anybody can change somebody
True.
like somebody's life, say something, inspire them in a moment, in an instant.
Very true. Very true.
boy, I tell you, I've been just good Lord, I've been doing this a little bit more, and because they really are phenomenal, and I pulled two cards for you,
Mm.
and for your company, and one is Earth Connection, that is Gaia and Earth Connection,
I
and
love that so much. You don't understand. Okay, that's like a personal thing for
be
me.
mindful of the planet, come back to Earth and stay grounded is that one.
Mm.
Mm,
And so I don't need to know why they are important, but and then this one is Kuan Yin, which is care and compassion,
Mm. Yeah.
which is
mm,
what you are doing with these kids and with your work. Everything that you are about is caring and compassion. Um,
Absolutely. Like care and compassion for self, others, community, our world.
mhm.
It starts first with ourself, it goes out into others, our community, and then world. And that's the expansion of it, right? So, and I love, Heather, that your mom came on because Adam and Matthew's mom is Deborah, who chimed in as well. So we have two
Yay!
moms here. So do a big shout out to Heather and Adam Torrens' mom, Deborah. So really excited.
and you're right, but expand on this for me. That you can always make a change, and you can
Mm,
always change for the better.
yeah,
But when you get to a certain age, you don't think you can anymore.
right.
Give people a sense of advice that they can indeed. I was 42
Mm,
when I made a significant change, which led me, by the way, 25 years later to being with you here.
mm.
Um, but expand on that. How can people make a change?
So I have two things very quick. One, I started my journey to transformation when a dove hit my window on 11/11/11 at the moment of silence, when I was standing at the front of, it was Remembrance Day, and a dove hit our window. I was teaching grade 5, 6. I was really sick, overweight. I was not in alignment with who I am, my authentic self. And that dove was like my hero's call to action. And, come all the years later, I'm 54 and I'm in such a beautiful place of alignment with my authentic and true self and made a full transformation. But again, transformation takes time. One action step, right? Slowly over time. And, had I not made that transformation, where would I be today? And another thing I'm going to say to people is one word: A Christmas Carol. Like, what happened, right, with the Grinch, right, where he was so miserable, the Scrooge, and he was able, the Grinch, like all our favorite classic stories, they made their transformation, they had their epiphany, they had their awakening, right? Notable failures, and how, Colonel Sanders like became, you know, this maybe not the best food, but he made his name.
Well, he started when
Such a guy, right? But he still made an impact in the world, whether you like it or not, at an age of 70. So, you know, it's never too late. All you have to do is find a story of somebody and when they made their transformation. And at the end of the day, you know, it's even if you have one day that you're awakened, it's better than a day not knowing and not being awakened.
exactly, and I'm a firm believer. See, you know, when my birth certificate was wrong, my birthday was the wrong year. So Michelle's looking at me like, "What in the hell is he? Where's he going with this?"
How does that happen?
No, I'm kidding. It was, but that's the thing is, I'm never going to get old because you excite me, and you excite. I hope that you excite everybody who's listening that you can make a change. You can do things a different way. Listen to this show. If you listen to this show a lot, you'll get a lot of a lot of hints and inspiration and thought. Because that's what we're all about, and you could be too. It's totally up to you. And I can only tell you that when you have somebody come up to you who says, Tammy, you changed my life forever, how does that make you feel?
I want to cry. Like, right, for me, it hits me right in the heart. And that's everything of why I do what I do. I'm not money hungry. I'm not, you know, ego. I'm not fame driven. For me, it's about creating impact. It's about making a connection with a child. It's about making a difference. That has always been who I am from little to big and growing up, right? It doesn't matter. That is what motivates, drives, inspires, and is my passion. This isn't just a job for me. This isn't just it's my calling. I live, breathe, sleep it. I am so passionate about it. I'm driven I'm obsessed by it. So I'm very blessed that I get to do what I am passionate about, because not everybody can say that. But my whole job is one day teaching all these little children to find and align with their purpose and passion is the gift that I want to bring into the world, where everybody knows that they have a purpose, everybody knows they have gifts inside, and everybody has you know, a passion inside to do something. And when we share that, that's when the world is going to shift into a way better place.
Absolutely, and that's why the work that you do is so important. The things that you say, and with real passion. I just wish everybody had the passion that you do.
I wish that too. It's so fun to wake up with so much fire and excitement for what I do. It really is. Like, I'm like lit up like a Christmas tree, and I'm sure I annoy people too. They're like, "Oh, enough already." But you know, I just accept that that's who I am, and you know, if I'm a little bright and shiny, you know, just look away or put some sunglasses on, because I can't change. Right? That's who I am.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. My children, who've known me for a long time, I say, "Why don't you laugh at my jokes anymore?" And they say, "Dad, I've known you for 35 years, and you've said the same things for 35 years." But it's part of who we are. And I want to encourage everybody. And Michelle knows that we are passionate about what we do. You're passionate for kids. I'm passionate about bringing you onto a large platform so that you can make a difference. That's what it's all about. And I thank you for being here.
I thank you both. Yeah.
Thank you, Tammy, so much.
And we got to go, but if you got a minute, Tammy, anything you'd like to add? By the way, go to our website, which is raisingempoweredkids.com. Tammy, go.
Yeah, I just want to really just remind every single person that there is inside of you, there is magic, and that magic is meant to be shared. And think about this. I want to think everybody to think about this. There's over 8 billion people on the planet. If we all just did one thing, we could transform the world in an instant. It's not about doing 50,000 things. We just need to do one thing. And if we all picked up one piece of garbage, we all took care of our children, we all just took care of our own backyard in an instant. And that's not heavy, that's light work. All hands working together, right, with the same vision and mission, we can transform things. So it's all about unity consciousness, collaboration, communication, and contribution. So the hero in me does see and know that there's a hero inside of each and every one of the listeners and each one of you. And I really inspire you to find that inside of yourself.
Couldn't have said that any better myself. Rochelle, thank you for being here. Thank your mom and everybody that participated in the show today. This was a good one. And Tammy, you're the reason why.
Aw, you guys are beautiful. You help me feel comfortable and safe. So thank you.
So thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next time on Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin@kmmedia.pro.